Hello and welcome to Midwest Writers Room. I'm Luella Schmidt and I'm here with my co host,
Ken Humphrey.
and we are so delighted to be on location, I guess, at Novel Book Camp. And we are here with Dave Rank, the executive director and founder of Novel Book Camp, and Ekta Garg. I'm sorry, did I say that correctly? And Ekta Garg, who is the incoming executive director, right? So, welcome. Thank you for chatting with us.
Well, thank you for the invite.
You bet. So, Dave, we're going to start with you. Tell us a little bit about the history of Novel Book Camp and why and when you started it.
Well, it sort of was. Uh, I went in 2010. I was at a similar. Well, basically, I stole the idea from them. A similar kind of workshop retreat down in Kentucky. It was across the river from Cincinnati, and I at the time the organizer of that one was talking about. They were in a retreat center down there, and they said that they were going to be closing soon, and he was looking for a new place. And I thought, well, we have this nice little retreat area near West Bend where I live, and I thought it would be nice to have. That one was not big enough for them, anyways, and they didn't end up moving for a couple more years. But it sort of got things going in the back of my mind that it would be nice to have a retreat like that. And then I got involved with well, I was involved with the WWA, Wisconsin Writers Association, and was on their board actually at that time. And they had some new board members coming in, and they were looking for some new programming they could offer membership, and looking for ideas. And I just blurted out, well, how about we offer a retreat, a workshop, instead of week long, more or less. And they said, yeah, well, give us a proposal. So I worked up a detailed proposal and budget, hunted down staff, and next thing I know, in 2014, we held our first one with 5 writers, and the staff was almost as big as the writers, the number of writers we were teaching, and we held it ever since. It grew every year um, until 2020, when as hard as we tried to move it around and get it and find a way to make it work, ultimately our venue at that time just shut down, and that was it. So we didn't have a book camp in 2020, but we moved on, and about 3 years ago we moved here because we've outgrown the place in near West Bend. So we moved to here, the Sienna Retreat Center in Racine, and it's a lovely facility. I kind of think of it as like sort of a college campus, small college campus atmosphere. So the WWA sponsored us for the first couple of years, and in 2016, we sort of mutually decided that we should separate. And so with my co-conspirators, Lisa Lickle, who works for you, and the late Philip Martin, we decided to make it a independent nonprofit organization, and so we did in Wisconsin, and we've been going ever since.
All right, so here we are. You a little over a decade into it, from 5 students to roughly, I think you said 30. You had about 30 students on this iteration. Quite the journey. Longtime WWA members will probably recognize the Novel in Progress Book Camp logo and partnership, because you guys have been a great partner for WWA. There is a lot of cross pollination that goes on between the two. What, if you would sum up what the mission of the Novel in Progress Book Camp is, like if somebody says, why should I go to this book camp, what would that response be?
If you want to write and you want to see yourself published, we offer services that we bring in published authors. We bring in book coaches, we bring in literary agents, and we offer services that I don't think other uh, retreats can offer. Um, and we don't promise that you'll get published, but we will do our best to help you advance that next step to get to that point where you feel confident that you can submit to an agent or a publisher or self-publish these days, which is becoming more and more um, a good alternative.
So give us maybe a little glimpse into what a day of a camper might look like. What kind of how are their days structured, or how is the week structured
Well,
for them?
it depends on on the program. We offer three programs that I mentioned. We have the workshop, which is morning classes and afternoon writing clinic, and then we offer separate presentations all around. In fact, many of our writers, uh, their main complaint is that they're too busy. We keep them busy, but I'd rather have them complain that they're too busy than not busy enough. So that's the workshop. They're pretty well learning, having classes most of the time with and one-on-one presentation, or not one-on-one consultations with the instructors. Then we have the retreat, which is for writers who basically just want to write or edit or plan their next project. Um, there's a mentor who's there to sort of keep them motivated and answer questions and do help brainstorm if they run into a problem with what they're working on. If you walk around, you'll see people just sitting at various stations, various places by themselves, and they're typing away at their laptops. Those are the retreat people. They really don't have much of a schedule. They can attend a lot of the stuff going on, but it's up to them to decide what they want to do. And if all they want to do is sit and work on their manuscript, that's fine with us. And the third program is our book coach, which is a relatively new one. That is one-on-one. We describe it as for writers who have a finished or nearly finished manuscript and want that one last go through with a professional to, you know, shine it up, polish it up, and the book coach is there. Will read the entire manuscript, prepare a little um, written analysis of the strengths and weaknesses, and then during the week we'll spend you know time one-on-one with them to work specifically with that writer on that manuscript. And then there's a little group session for so they can discuss common issues and problems and that. And invariably, I don't think it's uh, everyone who signs up for the book coach thinks they're ready to go, you know, submit it. And by the time our book coaches are done with them, they all are say, I got to go rewrite this. So it's a pretty intensive program. All three are really. And what's nice about the book camp is that while we have 30 people here, everyone's kind of working in a smaller group because we have so many programs, you know, the three programs, and then we offer the three programs in our, what we call genre and speculative fiction. So we have separate instructors, coaches for both of those. So um, I'm it's been most satisfying that for the most part, over the years, I've gotten many people saying that the book camp has been very beneficial to them. And every year we get many of our writers come back. So appreciate that as well.
Right. I'm gonna have you hand the mic over to
Oh.
Hector. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit. Ekta, as of July 1st, my understanding that you are now going to be the top dog here. So
Yes.
congratulations for one.
Thank
Why don't you
you.
walk us through a little bit? What's your background, your association with Novel Book Camp, and how do you see this book camp, moving forward in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually started coming to boot camp very recently, just in 2024 was my very first time here. I found out about boot camp through another one of our partner organizations, the Chicago Writers Association. I had attended their conference in March of 24. There were flyers of book camp in the swag bags that we got. And I looked at the flyer and I started reading about it, and I was like, this sounds really nice. In the summer, in June, I thought, well, my kids will be out of school, so it'll be easier to leave them at home. I don't have to worry about coordinating school schedules and all that sort of thing. And I decided to give it a try. And I came here to this amazing retreat center and really feel like I found a writing home for myself. And that year I did the workshop program and it was great. Like Dave said that, the instructors keep us busy, but it's evergreen advice, but also positioned in a way that challenges you a little bit because we are expecting writers to come here who are ready to take the next steps in authorship and being published. There are amazing programs across the country in local communities where they are meant for writers who are just starting out. Book camp is one step up above that. We're looking for writers who really are sort of starting to lean in a little bit more to what they're looking for in terms of a career. Um, and so I came in 2024 and did the workshop program, absolutely fell in love with it. And that fall, there were some board members who were rotating off the board, and Dave sent out an email to people who had attended boot camp that we have some spots opening up. Is anybody interested in serving on the board? And I said I am, because when I find something this precious, I really want to put as much of my efforts towards supporting it as I can. And so I was, grateful that they took me onto the board and, had conversations and was able to help sort of implement some minor things that maybe were slightly different from previous boot camps, but ultimately all enhanced the overall mission. And that's really what my goal is now going forward, is to continue with the mission of boot camp to promote the craft, the conversation, the camaraderie that we all share here year after year, and to continue to make it thrive and make it just as robust as it has been, to continue with the mission that Dave and Lisa and Philip started with all those years ago, and to take that forward in the best way possible.
I love that you started out as a camper, right? I think that's the
Yeah,
best.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was, I've attended other writing conferences before, and I really, came here. I needed a little bit of a getaway. I had lost my father earlier in 2024, so it was a hard year for me, and I just needed some time just to sort of center myself a little bit. Um, and I came here and I got that and so much more. And so, when an experience or an organization gives you so much, I think it's a natural human tendency to try to want to give back to it as well, if you can. And so that was my reaction.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh.
Can you share a little bit about, I don't know, your top of mind priorities that you want to see when it's your baby?
I would love, my ideal situation would be 5 years from now that we have such a long waiting list for boot camp that we have to very seriously consider what to do about that. Whether that means expanding the conference to more than a week or some other solution. But that would be my ideal, that 5 years from now we have people fighting to make it into boot camp, and where signups open up and the website crashes, and within a week the entire thing is full and we have people begging us, oh, but please, please. I would love that, because it means that people recognize the value that boot camp already brings. I've been telling people everywhere that it's truly a hidden gem, and I really want to continue to help polish it and make it visible to the whole world and let them know that it's here.
All right, writers, you've got your mission. Let's crash this site next go around. All right. Well, I want to thank Dave and Ekta for taking some time with us to talk through the novel book camp. Again, keep your eye out. It's just runs June, right?
Yes. And
But
next year it will run from June 13th to the 19th. 2027 here at the Sienna Retreat Center in Racine, Wisconsin.
All right, perfect. Everybody keep your eyes out. Apparently, this is a can't miss opportunity. So,
Absolutely.
thanks again for talking with us.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for joining the Midwest Writers Room.
All right, we are back with Tanasha Martin, a camper here at Novel in Progress Book Camp. Hello. Well, okay, so my understanding is you are a first timer, right?
Yes.
So we would love to just hear what your experience has been like. What brought you here? How about we start with that? What made you decide to come here?
Um, I am working on my second book, and I had some difficulties with how I wanted to present it, how I wanted to format it and lay it out. And I don't trust myself. So I typically come up with 5 or 6 ways to do it, and then I just get stuck. So I need to get unstuck and work with a book coach to get me going.
And so that's what you were after as a book
Mhm.
coach. Nice. Okay. And how did you find this place?
Ironically, I was discussing this with my book coach, and she said, I'm doing something near you because I've never met her before. She's been my book coach for 5 years, Susie Vidori. And we've only been on Zoom and calls and things like that. And so she said, we could meet up together at this retreat. And I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah. So let's back up for a minute and tell
Okay.
us a little bit about your writer journey and the first book.
Um, my first book I'm querying right now. I just took a break to do this writer's retreat so I can get situated so I can write it. My first book is also it's a fantasy book, young adult, and it's called Crowns of um, Curls and Braids, and of course it has magic and a bunch of girls.
Can you say
Okay.
what?
Pastor.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
They are they are bastards of the royal family, and when those royal family have been killed, instead of it normally going to the boys, it also goes to the girls. But bad guys don't know that yet. So
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
yeah.
Good for you. I love
Thank
it.
you.
So when you were writing your first book, kind of getting down to the towards the end of it, you had mentioned some of the things that you wanted to get out of this book, the second book, and the book camp. Did you recognize that as part of your first book, saying, "Oh, I wish I had more coaching on that," or did you kind of look at this, when you started the second one and say, "I need more help"? Like, when did that moment occur to you that I should attend a book camp and get some more coaching?
Well, with this one, this present book I'm working on, the first book, I had Susie as my book coach, and we did everything over the phone and Zoom, and she helped a lot with. It was for me to. I was rewriting over and over and over and over and over, trying to make sure it was right.
The endless cycle.
Yes, and so she stopped my um, that cycle, that loop, and I was able to finish it without a problem. The problem that I'm having with this one is just it's a different mix of genres and it doesn't kind of exist anywhere. So I don't have an example of how to do it, and I wanted to make sure it would work. Um,
You're doing a mashup, right?
yes,
Nice.
yes, it's slam poetry and flash fiction.
Wow.
All right. All right. Tough question. All right.
Innovation.
I need to understand how those two things fit together. Slam poetry and flash fiction. Give me an example. How does that work? I mean, I can't picture that in my head.
Okay. This is it's called the Infinity Journals, and it goes through the lives of these people who are immortals, but they don't know how they got that way. And uh, they each, though, have different issues that make living life very difficult. And so They spend a lot of time fumbling through life. One of them in particular is a slam poet, so her journals are written in slam poetry. She most of the time spends her time hiding because she doesn't want to be discovered, but she wants people to listen to her, and so that's her way of expressing herself. She ends up trying to help the other ones, but the problem with helping is that she often ends up dying horrible, excruciating deaths while she's helping
Oh,
others.
and then it comes back to life. So that's how that
Over.
immortality works. Yeah.
And so that wouldn't be very fun.
Yeah, that
Every time you help
takes a little wind out of
somebody.
it.
Yeah. So she's been pretty isolated, and now she's finding that it's all converging. They're all moving closer to her for some reason. And so she's seeing a lot more issues where they're each getting more exposed, especially with the screens and the phones and the pictures. Everybody has a camera nowadays, and that kind of thing. So it's contemporary Detroit.
So, given that immortality features significantly in this book, are you looking forward to the new Highlander remake coming out?
I am absolutely looking forward to
You
the
would
new
be?
Highlander.
Oh, Henry Cavill? Ooh,
Oh, yes.
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 Because when you're talking, I'm hearing some themes of Highlander, right? Like
Mhm.
the hiding, trying to keep yourself hidden, figuring out what to do with your entire life when your life is endless.
Right.
And then it's convergence, right? What they call the quickening, but the convergence of all them coming together. So it sounds very interesting. And the slam poetry, that's a really cool idea. That is such a cool idea.
I hope so. I hope an agent thinks so.
So, how about giving us maybe your favorite thing so far at this camp? Like, is there anything that kind of sticks out as a highlight so far?
Actually, it surprised me. I was not going to participate in some of the agent things. I just wanted to work on kind of getting this one ready to go on track so it could be marketable. Um, but I found that doing my query letter helped me focus my main character because originally, this is the third time I've written this Infinity Journals on my own, just trying to figure out how I wanted to tell a story. And this person that's my main character right now was not a main character before. So I need to give her main character energy and give her a definitive want that's strong enough to carry the book. So that's what I ended up doing here. And by writing my query letter, I found myself needing to know that information. So I had to commit to some things, and it really helped doing the
That's
query
great.
letter.
Wonderful.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I got another question in the back here that hasn't already been asked.
I keep thinking I just want to say, could you hurry up so we can read it?
I'm trying.
This is the wrong thing to do. Give me more pressure.
I started working on it before COVID, so
Oh wow, yeah.
it's one of those I pick up and put down, pick up and put down. So I'm
Yeah.
going to try to finish it.
Is there any question you want us to have you ask? Do you have a great anecdote that you love to tell people, or you need us to tee up a question? It's one thing we often ask guests.
Yeah.
This will bring out the nerd in me, but do or do not, there is no try is a big one in my house.
Mm. Yoda.
We often refer to Star Wars and very sci-fi like things across the dinner table to keep us motivated in moving in the right direction. So
All right, so let me ask you a question then that gets you into that. So I understand that there's a very strong pop cultural reference that may have kind of keyed you into this that people may not connect. It occurs over your dinner table. You want to tell us how that came about?
it would be the do not
Do
or do not
do not. Was it
do
how did it?
do wait, ask that again.
Yeah. So I understand there's a strong pop cultural reference that really kind of led you into this, and it may have come from our favorite short Jedi Master. Can you tell us the origin, how that came about?
Do or do not. Um,
There is no try.
there is no try. And at our dinner table, we kind of used it as a um, way to motivate each other when things got hard. We're all big sci-fi geeks and fantasy geeks in my house, which is kind of rare for a black girl. I was super nerdy when I was a kid, but that's not on the cool side
Yeah.
in our circles. But I did find my group. I ended up going to a nerdy school and found my people.
On your tribe, as
Yes.
Luella loves to say.
Yes.
On your tribe. That's very cool. So, being a sci-fi, and did you read fantasy too, or are you mostly
Yes.
sci-fi? Okay, you get 3 books to take with you to an island.
Mhm.
What come to your mind?
Oh, let me think.
And this is a hard
Can
question.
I take a
because
whole series?
You can take yes, you can take a series.
For even asking that question, you got to let us.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I would definitely take The Stand. I have written that. I've read that so many times. I absolutely love Stephen King.
Okay.
So I mean, when I was a child, I ran out of books to read and started reading adult books because at the time when I was a kid, there was no young adult. It was just children's books, and then it went to adult books. So I was 11 reading Stephen King books, Isaac Asimov. And so The Stand.
Okay. Number 1.
I would probably pick Sarah J. Maas for my series.
My daughter reads all her stuff too.
Oh, I absolutely love it. It's so intricate. Yeah. And I like girl power, as you can see on my
I
shirt.
see that.
So never underestimate the power of a girl. So that's a big one for me. And then the third, let's see. Um, I'll probably pick the Firefly comic books.
The one that became the movie,
The
Firefly series.
series, yeah.
Love that
Really?
series.
Yes, I do.
I'm gonna check that out. I
I
don't know
never
that at
read.
all.
I never read
Yeah.
the graphic novels on. I only saw the series and the
Mhm.
movie, the Serenity movie. I'm actually making one of my kids watch the opening episode of that with me to see if he likes it enough. Continue on.
Oh, I made my kids watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Mom coach unite, right?
absolutely.
All right. Well, commendable choice. Great choice of books to take with you. You're gonna have a swell time on that island
Okay.
with those things,
I
especially the
think
Sarah
so.
J. Maas books. You're gonna get 2 of those by the time you get rescued.
I might just stay.
I hope you had all of that.
Keep going, keep going. I'm not done yet. I'm not done here. I got some books to go. Come back in a month with another ship.
Right? I'm almost done.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Tanasha. I want to appreciate you for taking some time
Okay,
and
well,
talking
thank
with
you
us
both.
today.
Yeah.
Best of luck with your journey. And again, as well as said, get the slam poetry book done because we are now fiending over here. I'm adding a book to my be read pile that doesn't exactly exist yet.
Yeah.
So I'm going out on a limb. So we're counting on you.
All right, well, thanks. I've got 2 fans.
Thank you.
Are back. This time we are with Miriam Cortinovis,
That's
who
correct.
is with Key Agency.
Exactly correct.
Hey, I got it right on the first try. Yay. Thank you for being with us. Tell us
course.
a little bit about what you do when you're not here. Let's start with that.
So I am a full-time literary agent with the Key Agency. I've been at it for about a year. Previous to that, I was at Art House, and previous to that, I was a bunch of internship, as the most of us get into the industry that way. Yeah, my days mostly consist of receiving and handling emails for my authors, reaching out to editors, networking, both editors, publishing houses, but also looking at sub rights like audio rights and TV and media and then also foreign rights and translation rights and all of that. And but I think the biggest chunk of my time is used reading manuscript, evaluating manuscript, writing edits for it, line editing for it. It's the job that I've always wanted to do, handling books. So I'm glad that I get to claim it as my career.
Oh man, that's really lovely to hear.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. Not a lot of people can say that.
Yes, I'm very lucky.
Yeah. And
So I have to ask you then, do you, is reading manuscripts, would you call that your favorite part of the job? Or sometimes you look and it's like, I got to get through these and make an informed judgment? Like, where do you place that in terms of favoritism for things on the
So
job?
subjectively, favoritism for me, it's actually line editing.
Okay.
Because my academic career before that as a writing tutor and as a student master program was getting very deep and granular with the sentences. So I've always loved, like in a Sherlock Holmes kind of way, like looking at a sentence, like how can I make it punchier? How can I make it more concise? How can like I find the perfect word for it? So that is my personal favorite part. But overall, I think manuscript reading for my clients in particular is never a slog because I've signed those people. I love their voices, and even if a project, especially their second books, are in a rougher shape, I love the collaborative process of looking at what we have and just having a talk, a very collaborative talk about it. Like, okay, where do we go from here? What are you trying to achieve, and how can we make sure that you achieve it in a way that it shows to other people reading it? Yeah, I emails used to be my least favorite part actually, because I was like, oh my god, I have to craft the perfect email, otherwise I'm not gonna respond. But of late, I have learned that it's actually it's fun. It's like whatever. Like the worst anybody can say is no. So just like send it out. So but I used to hate emails. I used to hate it.
I feel that. Um, and you said this is your second year at
This is
Novel
my
Writers
second year,
Bootcamp,
yeah.
right? Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what your role is here and what your week looks like when you're here.
Yeah, so the book camp for the authors themselves starts, I think, around Monday. It's almost a week long. For us, professional agents is usually a couple of days, Thursday and Friday. And we basically have a couple of structure intervention, mostly I know that this industry can be so obscure. And so it's a way for the agent to share that information that writers are not easily afforded. So there's a couple of opportunity to ask this question, and then there are more dedicated pitch session where the writers can practice their pitches, and a couple. Each of us agents is going to have a presentation on a topic of our choosing. For example, I chose what to ask during an agent offer call to make sure that you are making the best informed decision for yourself. But there are other, I glean of the other topic. There's like pitch perfect, how to best pitch your books, or like what are agents looking in the first 5 pages. So it's basically a mini class that we get to teach.
Sure.
So I'm thinking about your clients and your roster. Do you have a time when you had one of your clients that made a decision on a book that you like, don't, do not do that? Like, in other words, have you ever had a real conflict with a client where you guys just didn't see eye to eye at all? And how does that work?
That hasn't happened to me yet, but I know it is common. And in that way, I've heard from other agents, they either try to work on another book instead or elect to part ways amicably. It happens very frequently. I'm lucky where I've not had that conversation yet. Mostly because I think I'm very open with my editorial process during offer calls. So the whatever clients I sign on, they know what they're getting in. We've had a couple of instances where I've read their second book or their third book and I've gone, I don't think it's the right time, or I don't think like it's quite ready yet. So that has happened where we just went back to the drawing board or like what other projects can we work on. But I will also say there comes to a point where we work together, we do developmental edits, we do line edits, but at the end of the day, like I'm not gonna hold back the manuscript until I feel it's perfect or the writer has done everything that I told them to, because I don't think that's part of how I work editorially. So there comes to a point where I'm just like, this is the best work that you can get according to the client's vision, and at the end of the day, I'm advocating for that. So I just send them out to the editors and see where it gets us.
You had said line editing is one of your favorite
Hmm.
pieces of the process. How do you stop yourself from just going and going and going on your manuscript? In other words, kind of what's your trigger to say, okay, this is their manuscript. and I'm not going to sit and edit it anymore and it's ready to go out? Like, how do you figure out where that line is?
It varies agent through agents. There are some agents that work on like months and years on the same draft. I am rigorous in that I always tell my clients we do one developmental edit and one light edit. So that way I can also stop myself. Like it comes to a point where I just look at something like I'm I also like my line edits are through something called track changes. So at the end of the day, it is the writer that gets to make a decision and a call on those changes. Like they are more than welcome. Like I'm not gonna actually look and compare the two drafts to see if they've applied every changes that I made. So usually I have limited time. So I try to be aware of that. And also there are certain writers of mine who have great concept, a little weaker line edit. So I tend to spend like more on those. And there are other writers who need a little more push on the plot, on the characters, but then they deliver to me like near perfect manuscript where I just a couple of days and it's already ready to go. So it's tailored and it's personalized with the writer.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What genres do you specialize in?
I specialize in speculative fiction, so everything under the big umbrella from the big space opera, epic fantasy to the more like magical realism, like speculative literary, of late to stuff like horror romance, fantasy horror, the cozy fantasy, the contemporary fantasy. I also do a lot of kidlit. So adult, those are where that's where I specialize, but for kidlit I usually also just contemporary, so young adult and middle grade. I have a very hard line in that I don't do picture book and nonfiction. Those are like completely extraneous territory for me. I wouldn't even know where to start.
I can see why that would be kind of a
Yeah.
line for some. Yeah.
Yeah, it's completely different
Different.
ballpark because like nonfiction, you look at a proposal, and picture book, like you have to pack so much punch in like 500 words or less, and like I don't even know how to guide those authors. I don't have also those connections in the industry to give them the best shot. And so are genres that like I appreciate as a reader, but I don't really do them myself.
Sure. Well, okay. So you mentioned that later you're going to be doing practice, listening to some practice pitches, right?
Yeah.
How about giving us a little bit of advice on maybe a thing or two that you always have top of mind when you're giving advice on pitches?
So the first thing that I advise is write the pitch before you write the book.
Mm.
That is because I also find in like genre fiction where like it kind of can get overwhelming fast with all the information that you have to give in a secondary world fantasy. If you can write your query, and it doesn't have to be the final query, but if you can write your query before you draft, you have that thing like a almost like a lighthouse in mind, almost like whenever you feel overwhelmed or like the plot is like going out of control, you had that 3 paragraphs pitch that can help you guide in. I will also say comp titles are really important. They're not as important as people think. Like I think a lot of people stress about comp titles, like, oh, I cannot find the book that is like beat by beat like my book. That's not what I'm looking as an agent. I'm looking more for like vibe, for aesthetic, for like elements of the plot or elements of the setting that can tell me more or less where I would place it. And so that's why it's important for comp titles to be somewhat recent because the editor has to see that they can also place in the bookshelf and make a case to their higher ups that this book is for today's audiences. There's a client of mine who wrote a beautiful YA kind of like psychological thriller, but all of his comps and it's like, yeah, it's like Yellow Face or like Julia Chan is dead, and I'm like, those are adult titles. If I go to an editor with a YA book and all the comp titles are adult, the editor is gonna be like, I don't know where to place this. Like I don't know how to make a case for it. So comp title is very important, and I think like specifically my genre, there's a lot of like dual POV book, multiple POV book. There are many, many characters. I know it feels like you're sacrificing your darling to the authors, but like really focus on one character, one plot. Like don't try to mention every single subplot, even though it's cool. Even for like the readers are gonna like love it when they read it, but like you have so much space. You have so much space to do it. So just genuinely focus on the bare bones of it, and the rest is gonna come.
Great advice.
So with this being your second year now, so you've met a few writers, and during the course of your normal job, you met a few writers. What is like the top expectations that you see often that you need to reset with writers? In other words, they have a conception of how this is going to work, and you kind of have to ground them.
In terms of the bookcamp or the publishing
The
industry?
publishing industry.
Okay. One, it takes so long, and it's not an indication of whether your book is good or bad necessarily. But like I feel like even my clients, like when we go on sub, I'm like, oh, we're gonna hear from editor like in 2 weeks. I'm like, no, we are lucky if we're gonna hear it all this month. And like it takes a long time, and it's nobody's fault. There's just like there's so many editors, and they have to handle their own client on top of the new clients, on top of project managing and stuff. So like it just takes a long, so curb your enthusiasm a little bit and curb your expectation. The second thing is that I would say is that there's pro and cons to trad publishing, to traditional publishing. And one of that is that you have to relinquish a degree of control when you get a book deal, which is tough for some people. And that's why self publishing is absolutely a viable way to get your book out, because that way you have control over the editing, the cover, the marketing, because you are the one doing it. When you sign a deal with a publishing house, you do have to relinquish a little bit of that control. Like you can have a little say on the cover, but ultimately it's in the contract. The publisher will have the final say. The edits, you can choose to disregard an editor's edits, but at the same time, like it's going to have consequences if you constantly disregard that advice. And they're going to do, the marketing team is going to do your best to position your book and to promote your book in channels that are often hidden from the reader themselves and the author themselves. But they also get no's, they also get rejection. So I think temper your expectation there too. And the last thing I'll say is like there's a lot of lovely people in publishing. I know that we only really hear the bad stuff about it, but there's a lot of lovely people in publishing who are there for the love of the book. So it's worth a shot with those curbed and tempered expectations.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think that when publishing, and this goes back even before the self-publishing, it's just I think volume is probably the biggest enemy for publishing houses and editors, right? Because there's no there's no barrier to somebody writing a book. They can sit down and just crank out a book. And so when the other end is a professional, there's just this volume out there. And that's part of what takes so long is how do you weed through everything that's coming at you?
And that used to be the role of agents to
Yeah.
be able to weave through, but now there's even a case for there being too many agents. And an editor, the position of editor nowadays is not just, they read a book and they edit it. It's also project managing. It's also sending emails and coordinating with the publicity and marketing. So because they had that added responsibility to this, it takes even longer to weave through all the submissions that they have, which they have less submission than what an agent's receive. Like mine are in the thousand a year, theirs are probably in only in the hundreds a year. But I have the privilege of just glancing at a query and rejecting with a form. Editors are not afforded that. They have to at least try the first 20 to 30 pages, and it stacks up eventually.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for spending this
Of
time with
course.
us. It's always so helpful to understand better the way the industry works and to remember the business side of things.
Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of your advice was really helpful for
Of
that. So thank
course.
you.
Thank you for having me here. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we are back with Pat Shekel. Hi, Pat.
Hi.
Well, Pat is known to us and a friend of the pod and a friend of WWA. And I believe you said this is your third year as a camper
That's right.
at Novel in Progress Book Camp. Let's start with that. Let's tell us a little bit about what made you keep coming back.
I had a great experience my first year. I did the book coach program, and where you submit a full manuscript, you get that review, and then you also can attend all the workshops and everything. And the biggest reason I keep coming back is I just find it to be incredibly intellectually stimulating. It is a packed day; it's a packed week, um, but you meet a lot of great people, and it's a way of sharpening the axe. Even if you already know how to write, it's great to get a refresher. I always learn new things as well. And And the instructors and the other campers are just fantastic.
Yeah. And now I believe you are also a board member. Is that right?
I am.
Yeah.
I
Tell
am.
us how that happened.
I think they asked a bunch of people, and I was the one who said yes.
High qualifications right there, right?
Yeah, I think it really has to do with they're always looking for people that to help out, kind of share the load. And I feel like I've gained so much from boot camp that I felt obligated to try to get back a little bit.
Yeah. What are you working on here this session?
I am working on the sequel to Time Stitchers,
Really?
my debut novel that is coming out in late October from WWA Press.
That's exciting.
Nice little plug, everybody.
Yeah.
You asked the question.
Yes. We teed it up for you.
Thank you. Yeah, so I very early days on that draft, and so I submitted that as part of the speculative fiction workshop track that I'm in. And so as part of that, you get lots of good feedback, both from other campers and from 3 different instructors. And then you have one-on-one sessions where you review that. And so I think it was really good to get into that at this point because it was really pretty rough. And there were lots of unanswered questions about even the direction of the protagonist, what the protagonist's flaw was, where to take things from here. And so I feel like I gained a lot just in getting into the story and thinking about where it needs to go next. And I have a very long punch list of what needs to happen, not just in those 5,000 words that I submitted to camp, but also beyond.
Wow, that's really great. And so which tract are you taking? Have you done the same tract each of the years or?
I've done 2 different. So I did the book coach the first year, and that was for the novel that's coming out. And then last year and this year, I did the speculative fiction workshop.
Okay. Nice.
So what is for this year specifically, what does a day look like for when you in the speculative fiction track?
Right. The after breakfast, you start at the actual instruction starts at 9, and for the morning, it's split into 2 different instructors, and they're covering a particular topic, like voice or plot. And then you break for lunch, and then in the afternoon, you come together with the folks that are in the retreat and the other tracks like the all genre and so forth. And then you're getting instruction from the incomparable S.J. Roseanne. She's amazing. And Kelly Van Sant, and they're taking on another topic. And there's a lot of hands-on exercise where she's putting you on the timer for 5 minutes or 7 minutes and asking you to do an exercise. And then we often share the work, have a few laughs. And then there's often, it keeps going with maybe another bit of instruction on craft. Although sometimes there are sessions later in the evening on the business of publishing, maybe um, a query letter workshop, contracts, publishing contract review, things like that. It goes all the way till 9, and some people even go beyond.
Do you have a highlight that sticks out for you this time around so far?
The highlight for me is always those 1 o'clock sessions with SJ. I mean, she is small in stature, but massive in personality and horsepower, and she gets the most out of all of us. And I just find those exercises and that discussion to be really energizing. So we did one today where she had us write 3 minutes, and you wrote the description of a character as they got up in the morning and got ready for the day. And it was on action scenes. So you're like, okay, well, that's the setup. And you stop. And then she says, now you have 5 minutes to introduce a fight scene into the middle of that sequence. It's kind of silly, but it really works. And hilarity ensues because here's someone going to get their cornflakes, and someone breaks down their door, and now there's a fight.
I can see why that would be a fun exercise.
So yeah, it's
Who
just
cares?
it's
It's silly.
right, and that happens every afternoon in a slightly different flavor. So it's really very fun.
That is kind of hilarious. Right. So with 3 years under your belt, you probably can be considered, fairly experienced, fairly knowledgeable about this. For the speculative fiction track specifically, draw out what would be the ideal student to take that.
I think it would be someone who has some writing experience, who has been at it for a little while, that has participated in a critique group, um, and shared their work at least a few times, so they have an idea of how that works. Beyond that, really, anyone on their writing would benefit from this. And I say that because you're going through world building and voice and plot, and these are things that even an experienced writer would benefit from, but certainly a relatively beginning to intermediate writer would as well.
Yeah. I like that. It sounds like, I think the way Dave described it, if I'm remembering right, is that, you have been as a writer at least a little farther, or maybe it was Ekta who said, you weren't a brand new baby writer. You had, at least put in enough effort where you could benefit from that feedback.
Yeah, I think if you were brand new, it would be a little bit challenging because there is a terminology, and then
Yeah.
there's of course the give and take, and having a little bit of emotional fortitude to be able to withstand
Criticism.
criticism, even if it's gentle criticism of your work. The
Yeah.
first time you do that, it's scary.
Yeah. I
Um,
cried. It's okay. Seriously, like it's hard to get used to, and
Yeah.
giving feedback is also really helpful.
It's an
I think
art.
as a
Yeah.
writer to get better at that. That's a skill that you can get better at too.
So now that you're on the board, so you kind of see this whole project from the 30,000 foot view. If you look across the next couple of years, um, what do you think some of the challenges will be to continue on something like this or to grow a camp like this?
I feel like the biggest challenge is getting the word out, because I think just about any writer who really wants to improve their craft would love this. And so if people really understood or even had awareness of it, um, I think they would want to be here. And so I think our challenge as a board is to make that, is to kick that awareness into high gear, and to grow it. Um, this place should be, not that it's hurting for attendees, but there should be a waiting list. It's that good. It's an incredible value as well, which I think a lot of people don't realize when you compare it to other week-long camps, anywhere. It's in a beautiful setting on the shore of Lake Michigan. So yeah, I think that's really the challenge, is getting the word out.
All right, writers out there, you have your mission now. Spread the word.
That's right.
Get this. Let's grow this thing. All right, Pat. Well, I want to thank you for stopping by, taking a few minutes to chat with us. Good luck the rest of the way on this.
All right, we are back this time with Susie Vidori. Susie is a book coach here at Novel in Progress Book Camp. And I think to start out, I'm going to ask you to just tell us a little bit about what being a book coach is like.
Oh my goodness, being a book coach is the dream job that I never knew existed because nobody ever told me that writing could be a job, but especially not book coaching. But I am so blessed. I get to read books and talk to people about their books and let them come to life for a living.
I mean, that does sound delightful.
That does sound delightful. So when you're going into a new manuscript to evaluate, what are you looking? I mean, like, what excites you about it, and what is one part you may dread?
I mean, everything about it excites me. It's reading, right? But I am particularly myself. I'm particularly focused on how it lights up a reader's brain and what the techniques are. So even if something isn't working great or it seems flat to begin with, I'm always looking for ways like, oh, they could just do this or just do that. And it's not about my ideas or changing their ideas. Being a book coach is actually very unlike being a publisher or even being an editor sometimes, in that my only job is to make sure that whatever the writer's idea is, that it gets all the way to the end, all the way to the reader's brain intact, and they can react to what that is. And that's, a lot of it's about technique. And that sounds really boring, but I find it exciting, and I try to teach it in an exciting way. And a lot of times, writers might be resistant to somebody coming in and telling them how to change things. But if you say, hey, this isn't working yet because of this, and this is how it's being interpreted, what are you actually trying to say here? And then offering them ways to actually say it, it's a really cool conversation. And when you work with a book coach versus just an editor who's giving suggestions, you learn a ton. And so you get to be a better and better and stronger writer, so that those ideas in your head get into your reader's head in a different way.
So, follow up question on it. One of my
Yeah.
pet peeves when I read books is somebody new enters the scene. Susie walks in the room, and then we get a page of Susie's backstory, like
Yeah.
the exposition dump
Yeah.
before the action moves again. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. How common is that? It seems like I see it all the time, but maybe it's because I look for it.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you first start out writing, it's hard to, you talk about kill your darlings or really get married to things. And there's a lot of focus on word count when you first start writing. And okay, just sit down, switch your butt in the seat, you write the thing, and that's what comes out. And here's the thing is writers actually need that backstory. Listen to what I just said. Writers need it. Readers may not, right? And so what the thing is for a writer to learn that there is a difference between what you need to know as a writer, so that not everything that you write feels wishy-washy, but you need to be very discerning about what it is that you share with your reader. And that's the first question I would say. If there's an info dump, is basically what you're describing, of backstory, does the reader need the information? Yes or no? Be ruthless. And then the second follow-up question is, does the reader need the information right now? And it's never 2 or 3 paragraphs that we need in that moment, but there might be a detail that's important, and maybe the rest can get cut, or maybe the rest can be woven in someplace else. The opening of a scene is somewhere that you can sort of stop and set the scene, but not in a backstory like in your scene. What we need to be saying, instead of backstory in the opening or the grounding of the scene, whose head are we in, right? Because point of view can change throughout a book. Whose head are we in? Who's there in the scene? I don't want to find out 3 pages in that somebody started talking and I'm like, oh, you were here, right? It's very jarring to a reader. We need to know where we are, so the setting, and we need to know where we are in time and space relative to the scene that we just left. And that's a weird one, because even if we just left them, you're the god. The writer is the god of their story, and we trust them as a reader. And we can actually take them anywhere. We can put you in somebody else's head. We can put you somewhere else in the world, take you to a different location. We can take you to the moon. We can take you forward in time, backward in time. And so a reader needs that information to know where you are. And what they don't need is what happened somewhere else. And can I just say one more thing about backstory? Sorry, I told you I get really excited.
No, keep going.
So okay, so backstory. If you want to know if we need backstory, there's sort of what I would call story present, which is the story that's in today's timeline. If you are struggling with whether or not the reader needs that backstory at this moment in time, readers only care about the backstory if it will help inform or help them guess what your character is going to do in story present. And if it doesn't do that, then you may, good job, put that in a different document and say, good job, I know a lot about my character, but don't put it in the book because nobody cares.
Great advice. Great advice.
So, describe a little bit about what your week is like as a book coach here at Novel in Progress Bookcamp.
Oh my goodness, it has been an absolute blast. This is a very special event, and I travel around North America. I go to different conferences. I've been to many. When this when this came out, people kept forwarding it to me when they were, looking for a book coach and saying, Susie, this event is you. and so the things that I love about it here, it's very not hierarchical. There's a lot of people here who are newer writers. There's a lot of people here who are experienced writers, and everybody is willing and sharing and open. So it's an amazing environment to get your feet wet. And I think it can be intimidating at some events. It can be intimidating. This is not one of those. And it's also really intense. So, I mean, I work on about 100 books a year right now, in my one-on-one practice and in my courses. So not full manuscripts necessarily, but pieces of books, and it's a lot to hold in my head. But this experience has been really fun. I got to work with a small group of writers on their novels as they are working on them. And then I get to meet with them several times a day, read their pages. I stay up late. They're all like worried about me. They're like, are you getting enough sleep? I'm like, I'm just running on adrenaline right now. It's a lot of fun, right? Because I get to read what they're doing in real time and get to help them and help them make progress throughout the week. So yeah, I mean, it's a really neat experience. Very grateful.
So, I understand you're based out of Canada, Calgary,
Yeah.
Canada. I don't understand. Why don't we call poutine gravy?
Well, okay,
I get it.
so gravy is one of three ingredients.
You don't know what poutine is.
Yeah, you don't know what poutine
Forgot
is.
the fries
All
and
right,
the
there's
cheese.
fries and cheese curds, which I mean, we're in Wisconsin, and to be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed in the lack of cheese discussions that I've had in Wisconsin so far.
You're all cheesed out.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just got back from vacation and I have had cheese twice in like 12 hours
All
because
right,
I'm
well,
back
maybe
in Wisconsin.
maybe I need to do a side run before I leave on Saturday
have
to
to.
find
You're gonna
some
have to.
special cheese.
The last time I was in Canada, I went to Tim Hortons. There's just gravy on this stuff. Like that was my initial thought.
Now, to be fair, and I love my Tims, but to be fair, it's like a fast food version of poutine, and it's a very poutine is from Quebec, and so one specific part of French Canada, and yeah, so I mean to make it widely appealable, they use a pretty regular gravy on that one. Yeah.
All right, now we're done exposing my lack of cultural awareness on things.
Oh no,
Let's get
just
back to the book coach stuff.
we have to. This is on the list now. Something we're going to have to address.
Okay. Yes,
I mean,
want
like
to
I
have
said,
it. We want you to try.
can you get cheese curds here because that's something that isn't readily available around the world, but I would imagine that the sort of remnants of cheese here would be available. So yeah,
cheese curds on every single menu.
yeah, on fries.
Yes.
Yes. All right. I'll have to now. Okay, I gotta go get cheese. I gotta go get what would I call that? A Wisconsinized poutine? I don't know.
It could be get yourself a burger with cheese curds on it.
Oh my goodness, that
That's
sounds
very popular.
amazing.
It is. It's enormous. Your heart will actually stop beating.
And are the cheese
and you
curds
won't care.
melted or just partially melted? Because otherwise they don't squeak. We call it squeaky cheese.
Yeah.
Oh man!
All right, detour over. Let's get back to the book coach stuff.
Fine.
Hey, I'm here to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Well, so how about I guess if we can veer back for a minute, I'm curious about like how many customers you have that you work with like regularly and kind of how you manage that part.
Yeah, I would say so. That is a really hard thing to manage my energy. And so, because I did say I work on about 100 books a year, but I do have courses, I have a group program, I have a membership, and then I have one on one clients that. So, when I say that, that's when we're working on a book as they're working on it, right? That's what book coaching is. And then I'm also a developmental editor. So, I also take, and many book coaches specialize in one or the other. I find anytime that I get heavy into one or the other, then I get out of balance. I actually like them both because developmental editing, I read the entire manuscript and comment throughout and like help them, like sit and simmer on it and be like, hey, it's not quite working. What could I possibly teach them or help them with? Or like, and what are the next steps that they can take to fix it? And then book coaching is like, the Cadillac version of editing is what I like to say. Can you write a book on your own? Absolutely, but a book coach provides you with deadlines and you know because you have to turn something in, right? So that time pressure is actually really helpful for a lot of busy people. We also provide craft advice, and so you're learning on the fly, and it's not as overwhelming, and we're helping as you go. And then also just the emotional support. I mean, I'm not a therapist. I don't claim to be a therapist, but a lot of things come up as you're writing a book, and let's not pretend that it doesn't, right? So it's a roller coaster ride of writing a book, and sometimes we just need to be be reminded that there is an end in sight, and sometimes we have to break down that finish your book by whatever deadline into little baby steps that we can continue to make progress on, and it will get done. So the question actually wasn't that. The question was, how do I manage all of the people that I work with at once? I work with about so one of for developmental edits. I usually take about one a month. Sometimes I take more. I take more in the summer because it tends to get a little bit quieter. People can't meet, or my schedule gets freed up. And I work on about one a month, full manuscripts, and then I take on book coaching. It depends on the year, it depends on the season, but between 9 and 12 clients usually at a time. But I'm not meeting with everybody every week. If you're a really prolific writer and you want to write with me every week, that's great. But most people, it's sort of a 2 to 3 week cycle that we work on. Any longer than that, we're going to probably have a different conversation because I can give you 4 or 5 weeks to meet your deadline. And what you're going to do is just not do it until the week before anyway. So it doesn't work, right? So you can try to stretch it out, but I don't find it more productive. And then how I manage it, actually, that was the biggest thing that I learned when I became an accredited book coach, because I was doing this work before. I had a lot of my own methodology that you're not going to find anywhere else. I have access to all of the things and the tools, and we do use the Author Accelerator tools for some of it, but I also have my own special formulas and ways of working with writers. What I really learned in that program was how to scale. And one of the coolest things is how I set up my week. If you're working with me on an ongoing basis, all of the pages that you have due for deadlines that week are due on Sunday. They're due on Sunday night. And that way, when I get in on Monday morning and open up my email, everybody's pages are there. And if they're not, and I have a meeting with you, we'll probably cancel it. We'll probably ask you. But if you don't have them right away, then we'll probably just push it out and we'll have that conversation. But people don't send them in late. They're very, very good. They don't want to waste my time. They are very excited to do it. So they send them in on time. But then I spend Mondays and Tuesdays editing. I meet with clients on Wednesdays and Thursdays. I mean, there's other things that I can do. And if a client needs something else, I can accommodate it. Or I will try to accommodate it. And then Fridays I use for my own writing or for doing other events. I meet with my memberships often on Fridays. So that's how I kind of manage in my brain. The nice thing about that is that on the weekends, I'm a mom of three. I have a very busy life, and on the weekends, I can't get ahead and work because nothing's in my inbox until Sunday night.
That was really
All right,
good
it's
thinking.
like an empty box. It's like an empty inbox.
Brilliant.
I like to say, well, I was an operations professional for 20 years before I actually became a book coach. So these types of things are really great. And Jenny Nash, who runs Author Accelerator, has figured out a lot of systems in order to scale and work with a lot of writers. And I just took to that. Like, these are a lot of her ideas. It's like, hey, make it all the same instead of just getting it continuously all the time. So yeah, so I tend to group it. I tend to group my weeks. I have 3 staff members that work with me part-time. Some of them are almost full-time, and they manage a lot of the scheduling and things like that, but they'll put time blocks in. And one of the things that we try to minimize is context switching. And so if you are a writer, writers need to know about this too. If you're trying to do too many things at once, if you're spending like 10 minutes doing marketing for your book and 10 minutes writing and 10 minutes doing something else, it takes a minute for your brain to switch over. So I like to have full blocks or half days of writing or editing. And then, maybe there's a whole day. I also have a podcast. So maybe there's a whole afternoon where I record 3 different podcast interviews, right? Like, just group it up.
Mm-hmm.
So
Batching is always good advice.
yeah, batching, especially for podcasting, but for everything, I try to batch so that I can actually stay in it as long as possible. And then when I'm out of it, I try to, go and do the things that I like to do with my kids.
So, are there genres that you specialize in?
Yeah, there are. This is a huge debate within my peer group because I don't specialize as closely as many of them do. I actually do fiction, I do nonfiction, and I also do memoir, which is of course nonfiction, but I do nonfiction business books or prescriptive, and also memoir. In terms of fiction, I do specialize a little bit more. The ones that I do more of are I'm a YA fantasy writer myself, so obviously anything YA or middle grade, anything to do with magic or speculative science fiction. I also do a lot of romance, mystery, historical fiction. So those are sort of my main genres that I work on, but it's broad. But more than that, I often work with newer writers, and so that's unique within the book coaching community. There's a lot of book coaches who want to work with writers who already have a book deal or who know the craft and don't enjoy teaching it. I will work with writers from every walk of life. If they have a story to tell and they are willing to learn, I will help them. And so that is kind of fun. It's led to a lot of different things. I've worked with ESL writers, English as a second language. I've worked with writers with different, you know, different. Sorry, I'm gonna have to think about this for a second. I'll leave a pause so you can see it. Um, I work with writers with all kinds of different brains. And so I've worked with writers recovering from PTSD. I've worked with writers with dyslexia. I've worked with things, and I love the challenge of figuring out how to do that. And sometimes we need a little bit more time. Or sometimes there's things that, or I've worked with writers where English is their fifth language. I've worked with writers where English is their seventh language. And, sometimes they're like, oh, why can't I get the dialogue tags? I'm like, you know what? You've got a great story. Just hire get a line editor to fix all that. Don't even worry about it. I don't worry, sweat it, because at the end of the day, only they can tell their story. So I think that's what I more specialize on now. That doesn't mean that I only work with newer writers. I have people tend to come back and hire me to do at least a developmental edit or do the planning pieces for their books for number 4 and number 5 and all the way along, because they know what they're getting.
Cool.
Yeah.
Before we wrap this up, you want to give a shout out for both the podcast and how people can find you?
Yes, absolutely. You can find me at susievidori.com. And my podcast is the Show Don't Tell Writing Podcast. So I talk a lot about the concept Show Don't Tell, which I teach in a way that is like completely different from probably anything that you've ever heard, because everything in writing to be kind of comes back to that and how it works in the reader's brain. But also on that podcast, I tend to expose, like I'm going to show you versus tell you. I bring on all kinds of guests. In my travels, I meet a lot of really interesting people. And I bring in all kinds of guests that have different perspectives and will teach you something that's really hard to find in the industry. So because of those relationships, I get people to share a lot of behind the scenes of what it's like, what they're, authors, what it's like. Audiobooks, what it's like. Or I recently had Michelle Hazen on for about Kiss and Tell, her new book about how to write sex scenes, right? Like we do all kinds of different things on the podcast, and I really, really enjoy that. And so yeah, come and find me.
All right, folks, I don't know about you, but I'm Googling this after we're done here.
Same.
Awesome.
She also makes me want to be a book coach somehow.
Yeah, hey,
Or a
I'll
client.
talk about that anytime.
All right, well, Susie, thanks for stopping by. We really
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
having me. Glad to be here.
Best of luck for the rest of the week for you here.
Okay, let's go find some cheese.
Yeah.
All right, here we are with Jenna Dixon Letzer. Hello, how are you? Good. Good. Thanks for chatting with us. So let's start out with tell us a little bit about your experience with Novel in Progress Bookcamp.
Yeah, so this is my second year attending. I attended the book camp last year, which was like the workshop. So you bring your first 3 chapters and you go to classes in the morning and they workshop your first 3 chapters and you get ideas for working with that. And I just had such a fun time, and you learn so much, and it's so much fun because I'm generally very introverted. And to spend a whole week at a camp, but it's all just writers, and you just talk about writing and books, and I had a blast. So when it came back around this year, I chose to do the book coach program, where I had a completed manuscript that I submitted early, and my book coach read the entire manuscript before camp started. And then I've been here this whole week working one on one with my coach on making the manuscript better. So it's been fantastic.
A delight. Yeah, it would be really great.
Yes.
And so, can you give us just a little more of the contrast between your experience from last year to this year? Because those are 2 very different experiences
Yes.
for a writer.
And it is funny. I did this year the book coach because I'm like, I think I'll be calmer. I'll have a little more time to write. And I did, but it's still, they jam pack the schedule and it's so hard. You can go to any classes you want, and they have so many amazing presenters and agents and all these really cool authors. So I ended up going to all the classes anyway. I still got a lot of writing done. And I don't know, they're both really cool experiences. I think the first book I brought to the book camp wasn't done, so it was a great way to kind of bounce off ideas and get like a direction forward because I was kind of lost with it. And then this year with the book coach, I had completed a manuscript and then I reread it and was like, it's not as good as I remember. And then the coach was just helpful to then amp it up and make it really shine, you know? Yeah.
So can we delve a little more into the details of like what is a book coach telling you? How is she
Mhm.
helping you amp it up? Like what are some good examples?
Yeah, so the main problem I had with my book, I love my characters so much. I'm like, people are gonna read this. They'll laugh and they'll cry and like they're so in depth. And then I read it again and they were so flat. And Susie, my book coach, was great because she was like, they're flat because of this, you know, and we worked through like some of the showing and not telling I was doing, which I've heard 1,000 times. But she really like they actually worked me through how to build up these characters and make them better and then actually write it better as well. So, I mean, I did have to rewrite my whole first chapter, but at first I was like, oh no. And it's so much better now. And now the rest of the book is just flowing.
Oh, that's really great.
Yeah.
No. So if somebody comes to you, it's like, hey, I heard about this book camp, right? But I don't know if I should attend it or not. What would be your selling pitch to them? Why would this be worth a aspiring writer come to?
Yeah. I mean, I've come here twice. It's the knowledge base you get for one is just astounding. I love the location. It's right on the lake. It's super peaceful. And the biggest thing I really love about it is just everyone's so open and friendly and just the community of it. And even like when agents come in or these instructors, like you can stop them in the hall and chat. You talk to them at dinner. It's a very like open way of learning that just is really comfortable and I think very valuable.
I think one of our other interviewees described it as just like non-hierarchical, and that was part of the joy of it is that it is just very much a community and kind of a team atmosphere.
Yes.
Um, shoot, really good question. That just slipped my mind. All my best questions get left on the table.
All my best writings also not in there in my head when I'm laying in bed thinking about it.
Oh, Ella, you be insightful.
Okay, well, so is this your first completed manuscript?
It is not. I actually have my debut novels coming out this fall.
Oh, congratulations.
Congrats.
Very
Yay.
exciting. And I like writing stories, but my problem is I love writing all over. I love writing all the stories. So this is one I just needed help with.
Yeah, focus or something.
Focusing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I can imagine. So we've interviewed a coach, your coach, presumably, Susie, right?
Yep.
And I tell us a little bit more about what it is like to work with a coach in general. I mean, um, another example or more examples of the way that you kind of had something opened up for you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was really great one that she had read the whole manuscript beforehand. So any idea I bounced off of her, like she could talk back with me, like she
Mhm.
knew what I was talking about. So that was really helpful. And we'd usually do like one-on-ones, like kind of there was two other people in the program. So it was like a small group session in the morning where she'd go over like opening scenes or character development. And then during our one-on-ones, like really dive into like I was really having trouble with my main character and she really helped me to flesh him out just by asking questions. What would he do here? How do you do this?
Yeah.
And then she even did I rewrote my opening pages and she reviewed it while we were at camp. And then she did a line edit for it was amazing. It was like 16 pages and she
Wow.
did all the edits and we met the next day to go over it.
Wow, that is a lot of really helpful advice
Yes, like
in a
it's
short period of time. That's great.
yes.
So going forward, are you going into other programs, I mean, do you have anything to compare this to in terms of other outside development programs?
I haven't actually been, so I've attended like all the WWA conferences and all the learning conferences. This was my first camp because I live in Wisconsin. I was trying to find something local. Um, but I don't know. I've talked to a lot of other people that say some of the big conferences you lose that one-on-one easygoing connection, and I love it here.
I've heard the same thing. It's
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
mass, the volume of people.
Yes.
You meet somebody, you may not see them again for the rest of the weekend because
Right.
there's just so many other people.
Yes.
Want to plug your debut novel a little bit while we got you here?
Sure.
What's it about?
Yeah,
What genre?
so my debut novel is actually published with Orange Hat 1016.
Okay.
Who
Part of the program.
Yep,
Shout out,
and
Michael.
I actually learned about them at bookcamp last year because
Okay.
he gave a presentation. But it's a cozy fantasy about a woman who moves to the Northwoods of Wisconsin to run a coffee shop and discovers she's a witch and everything that evolves from that. Her boyfriend's a demon and just some fun kind of
What's the title?
New Witch in the Northwoods.
New Witch in the Northwood.
That sounds fantastic.
Comes out, you said this fall? It's
Yeah,
coming out
this fall. It's published. My pen name is Elise Posledny, so it's under a different name.
All right, folks, you heard it.
We're gonna have to have you on to do a chapter break.
I'm going to say, this will not be the last you see us on our program.
We've got plans.
That's right. All right, well, I want to thank you for stopping by and chatting with us
Yeah,
a little bit today.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful.
Best of luck for the rest of the way through on this program.
Thank you.
All right.